¿Qué tal amigos? ¿Cómo están? Muy buenas tardes. Pues hoy me encuentro muy contento de presentarles a un buen amigo, Mr. John Bottoms, aquí en Gunner Game Farm, en Oklahoma. Vamos a platicar un poco con él acerca de sus líneas, lo vamos a conocer. Estamos muy contentos de estar aquí, sus animales me han sorprendido gratamente, la verdad es que estoy muy contento de haber llegado este día aquí. Me siento muy sorprendido, muy contento y espero que ustedes también. Thank you, John. Thank you for your time. I'm very happy to be here with you.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
I want to ask, ¿de dónde provienen, qué líneas crías mayormente? Y si nos pudieras decir de dónde vienen estas sangres, el origen de estas sangres que has tú trabajado.
Okay, he's asking if you can explain us which lines do you breed, and the origin, you know,
My main lines are yellow-legged hatch, George Neal Kelso, and the Lacey Roundhead, the old Hugh Norman Dirty Foot line of Lacey Roundhead that come from John Slavin. Our original yellow-legged hatch came from Jean Battier in 2000. And the George Neal Kelso come from Steve Woodall. We've had them about 11 years, the least amount of time. But we also raise the Griffin Clarets, the Bennett Grays, and then we have 3 lines of Asil that we cross all of them together.
Ok. Ahora, dinos algo, ¿cuántos años, a qué edad empezaste a criar estos animales? ¿Cuántos años tienes criándolos? Y básicamente, ¿con qué empezaste?
Okay, he wants to know when you start, how many years did you have? I mean, your age, and how many years have you been breeding?
I started showing when it was legal in Oklahoma in 79. And so I've been doing it a little over 45 years, you know, and started when they outlawed it in 2003 is when I really started concentrating on just the breeding side of it, you know, just producing birds for breeding purposes only. And I'm 61, so like I say, I've been doing it the biggest part of my life.
Me habías comentado que tienes algunos suéteres de las líneas de Mr. Dink Fair, pero que tú preferías las sangres de Dink de cuando él criaba aquí en Oklahoma por encima de las que tiene ahora en Kentucky. Algunos detalles finos habrás notado. ¿Podrías platicarnos por qué prefieres tal vez los de antes?
Okay, you told the story about, to Paco about the Dink Fair sweaters.
Yes.
That you prefer the ones that he breed here in Oklahoma instead of Kentucky, and that if you can let us know why do you prefer them?
Well, we actually, I do raise a few sweaters and we do really good with them. But the ones that we got from Dink when he lived here in Oklahoma, when he first started showing them, they were really big, you know. But I think probably the most beautiful, you know, they set the world on fire more than any chickens I've ever seen in my lifetime, you know. Everybody from the Philippines, Mexico, wherever you go, the sweaters are prominent. And Dink's probably the biggest thing, but the ones that he raised when he was in Oklahoma, I think were a little stronger and gamer. They didn't cut so well, but when you cross them with the good cutting lines, man, they're just awesome birds. And maybe a little gamer, you know,
okay,
than the ones I see today, you know.
Cuando estuve en Oklahoma, perdón, cuando estuve en Filipinas hace 2 años, les preguntaba cuál consideraban el mejor criador que había en Estados Unidos y justamente ellos me decían Dink Fair.
Okay, he had said that when he was in Philippines 2 years ago, the Philippines thinks that Dink Fair has the greatest sweaters.
I think that has made more of an impact on the rooster business, the Dink Fair sweater, than any birds in my lifetime, you know. crossed with the A-seals, crossed with the yellow leg, crossed with the Kelso, crossed with the roundhead.
this is good.
Really, really good chickens, you know.
Ahora, yo estuve tocando varios de tus animales, los levantaba y a todos los sentía muy fuertes, del cuerpo muy apretados, te decía que parecían piedras. ¿Qué haces para que estos animales, qué les das de comer, cómo los alimentas para que se sientan tan fuertes, o a qué crees, a qué atribuyes esa característica?
Okay, he's saying that he was feeling and touching all your birds, and he felt that they are really strong, and he would like to know, we all would like to know, what do you do, what do you give them to feed, or if you do something special that they could have their body like that.
Well, I learned a lot from the people I was raised with, like Gary Gillum and them, and you know, Gary and the old man that I started with set up the first derbies in Oklahoma back in the 60s, and they were really stressed on health, you know, worming, you know, the worming process. You know, I think they got to be healthy from the egg all the way to a 2-year-old. I mean, everything that happens, and just selective breeding. You know, everybody's got good chickens today. You know, that's the only way you can get an advantage, is to work harder to keep them healthy, or, you know, to select a better brood fowl, you know, and I think some people's got an eye for it, and so, you know, I mean, because like I say, to get good chickens, it's pretty simple. You know, I mean, there's a lot of access, but it's what you do when you get them, what you select, you know, to cull. You know, when you breed a pullet, it's got to be a superstar. When you breed a rooster, it's got to be a superstar, or, you know, you'll breed down. The real breeders, when they start with a family, they will get better over time, or they'll get worse. I mean, you can't coast, you know, it's you're either going to get better or get worse. I mean, it's that simple. And
Hablando de eso, mucha gente en México discute o cuestiona alrededor de qué será más importante, el gallo y la gallina, y en todo caso, ¿qué crees tú que aporta el gallo y qué crees que aporta tú la gallina en los hijos?
Okay, people in Mexico have a lot of discussions about saying that which one is more important, the pullet or the stag. And well, what do you think about that? And also, in your criteria, what the contribution of each one to the kids?
the way I was taught by another Gary Smith was a field man. What he done for a living, he took care of chickens, you know, domestic chickens, but he was a great rooster man. And he taught me that you can never distinguish what's important from the hen and the rooster, because every hen has a father. So when you raise babies, that pullet is going to produce like her dad, and the stag's going to produce like the mother. So no matter how you breed them, you know, no matter how they're bred, your offspring is always going to show the father and the mother. We line breed. If I decide to get a family, you know, I go to John's. Most of my families have come from friendship. Like I go to John's when I got back home, he gave me 2 pairs of lacy roundheads, you know. And I told him, I said, John, I appreciate it. He said, if you need anything, just come and get them. But I took 1 pair, bred them together, the other pair, bred them together, and I line bred 1 pair. I bred the stag back to the mother, I pull it back to the father, bred them out 6 or 7 years, bred them back together. The other pair weren't good enough, you know. And that's why I'm saying, you know, I've heard people say, well, the hen's more important than the rooster, but really they're both equally, because every time you breed a pullet, you're breeding the characteristics of her father. I mean, both sides, but mostly the pullet's going to produce. For instance, if I get a rooster from you, I see it at the show or at your farm, I love this rooster. Well, when I bring him home and I breed him into my family, that's not what I'm after. I'm after his daughters, you know. So I get a Kelso off you and come and breed him to my Kelso hen. then what? To produce this rooster, I take his daughters and breed him back to them. Then I'm breeding that roosters. That you know what I'm saying? So really, no matter which one you breed, you're gonna have both sides, and it's equally, they've both got to be, An old man told me one time, anytime you breed a defect, any defect, it's gonna come back, And it's hard to have chickens that don't have some defect, whether it's mean, short, not good, sickly, whatever. If there's a defect there, you can never fully get away from it, and I believe that.
Es importante seleccionar, por eso el mejor ejemplar, la mejor hembra, el mejor macho. Y bueno, eso es selección. Siempre hay que estar seleccionando, separando lo mejor, separando de lo mejor, porque a veces nos gusta mucho un gallo o una polla y tiene un leve detalle. Ese detalle va a regresar tarde o temprano. Y hablando de eso, sabemos que George Neal tenía sus kelsos del maestro Jumper, de ahí venían. ¿Qué crees que hizo George Neal que los hizo diferentes a los que hacía Jumper, y cuáles te parecen mejor y por qué? Porque el prestigio del maestro Jumper en kelso fue grandísimo, pero también George Neal logró hacer que sus sangres fueran reconocidísimas. ¿Qué diferencias encontrarías concretamente entre el kelso de Jumper y el kelso de George Neal?
That if you could tell us again, and your criteria, the difference between the kelso from George Neal and Jumper.
Well, of course, I know you probably know George Neal raised kelsos for Jumper, and I know toward the end, we actually got these kelsos from Roger Royston. He's Mountain View Products, a good friend of ours. He used to live here in Oklahoma. He's from Kentucky, and I think toward the end that Jumper went back and got, kelsos to breed from George Neal more often. But I think they're the same. I just think that, the George Neal probably done better. I think Jumper had more lines, and the ones I got come 100% yellow-legged. I've never had a white-legged one. And I know a lot of the George Neals did come white-legged, but boy, they've been, and crossed with my yellow leg, I think is as good a chickens I've ever seen. Gene Brown yellow leg and the George Neal kelsos are super.
Ajá.
They're super. Yeah.
Tu familia se dedicaba, entiendo, en alguna época a la avicultura comercial para alimentación humana. ¿Algo aprendiste de ese tipo de aves que ahora te permite alimentar a los tuyos y tenerlas en tan buenas condiciones, o es completamente diferente la avicultura para consumo humano que la de nuestros animales?
Okay, he's saying that your family, your parents, it's breeding the same, no? But like birds to eat more,
Yes,
they were doing that.
They raise cattle and broiler chickens, eating chickens, yes.
Okay, Paco is asking if you have learned something about that now you can put all that knowledge into these kind of animals so that they are better, or that if you find something for that?
Any kind of animal, farm animal, you learn about the health. And two of the best rooster men that I growed up with when I was a kid, that's what they done was raise, they were field men for broiler chickens. But, they would come and post the roosters and go through them, check their guts, check for ulcers, check for coccidiosis. It's what I was taught by them as a kid. Baby chickens, if you keep the worms and the coccidiosis, then you have very little trouble with coryza or Merrick's, but once they get sick with worms or coccidiosis, then you start losing the health overall. And the broiler chickens taught us that, because we had, veterinarian field men coming every week, and we learned about health, and we learned about the medicines maybe a little earlier than some people, Back then they would just give you buckets of gallomycin and but I learned the importance of keeping them healthy, you know, I mean, because it's a big industry, you know, in this area, Arkansas and Oklahoma, that's one of the biggest industries.
Exactly. Now, bueno, ahora, tú tienes sangres de líneas o líneas muy antiguas, muy viejas, de criadores de hace muchos años, como los Clarets, como los White Hackles, que has sabido conservar las líneas. ¿Cómo haces tú una familia? Esa es una pregunta que normalmente en México nos hacen mucho. ¿Cómo hacer una familia si solo tienen, por ejemplo, un pollo y una polla? ¿Cómo conservar esa especie para que el día de mañana, si se muere uno de los ejemplares, conserva la familia? O sea, concretamente, para que hagas la pregunta es, si solo tuvieras un pollo y una polla de una familia, ¿cómo los conservarías esa línea?
Okay, as we have seen here in your farm, you have a lot of old bloodlines. So how do you do it if you, for example, just have one rooster and one hen to preserve that line?
Well,
for example, if one is dead,
we line breed them. I mean, if you got like the white hackles, I've got very few, but we've done really good. We've bred the white hackle roundheads, and they're really good. But what I'll do is I'll line breed them. Take one hen, one rooster, line breed the stag back to the hen, and the cock back to the pullet. You make them 3/4, then 7/8, and 15/16, and then you can breed them back together, in 4 years. Mm-hmm. Also, a lot of times, like my yellow leg that I've done good with, I bred dink sweater into them, and then bred them down to 1/16 sweater, and that's one side of my yellow leg. The other side was we put some Stewart blood. We bought a Stewart hen off of a really good friend of ours and bred them down to a 16. And then we breed the two together, and I have a side that I call my sweater side, my Stewart side, and I breed them together at the end with just a little bit of fresh blood, and sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. I actually had another George Neal line of Kelsos that were super, out of we called them the broke wing cock, and bred to mine. They were great, but when you line bred them, it didn't work out. They just wouldn't take the inbreeding or line breeding, but the old ones do good, and I believe the old families take inbreeding a lot better,
Okay.
En México, actualmente, bueno, ya desde hace bastantes años, yo creo que unos 8 para acá, por lo menos yo lo he notado, están jugando muchos pollos asiles. Se debate la gente entre si son finos o si no son finos. ¿Cuál es tu opinión al respecto?
Okay, in Mexico, there is like they are playing a lot with ASILs. And in Mexico, they say that some of them are like high quality fine, and some others said that they aren't. So they are or they are not. I mean, that's like,
well,
or what do you think about?
About 12 years ago, I actually purchased some ASIL roosters from a friend of mine, and we sent them to Mexico, and they done very well with them. And they were half bamboo black from Jimbo Cox and half ASIL. And that kindled my interest in them, and so I called some friends, and that's where I inquired the pumpkins and the cobras and the grays. The grays and the cobras come from an old man that used to fight with what was his name? You'd know him. I can't think of his name, but he just passed away. His name was Ed Hendricks. But he, Lord, I can't think of the name. Guy he got them from, but I've been really blessed with all 3 ASILs, and the ones. I mean, like I say, back in the day, the ASILs I don't think were, a lot of them wasn't game. They wouldn't show, back when it was legal here, they would defeat a rooster and then wouldn't fight. But the roosters we got now are really, really game. I mean, and the big deal with the ASILs is they're so easy to keep healthy, way healthier than just the American breeds, and they're easy to train. You know, I mean, you don't have to do a lot. You know, I mean, a lot easier to get.
Like in all the lines, are goods are bads. No,
Yeah, oh yes. I mean, there's good and bad in all of them, but I think the bad are getting. You know, I mean, I think there's a lot more good ones now than they used to be. Because used to, you know, you'd see them and they just quit or act bad. You know, I mean, and just weren't very game. I mean, that's what I seen when I seen them back in the 80s when I first started seeing them. And now you go to Mexico, really, you know, a lot of good.
Yeah.
The Plumbers and the Wallace and all of them are really good birds, you know, real good birds.
Sí. Me salté una pregunta que también hacen mucho. ¿Es bueno o es malo el cruce entre hermanos?
In Mexico, they have also the doubt if it's good or bad to cross brothers or sisters between them.
I had a family of McLean type fowl that I ended up losing, but I had them for 25 years, and I had bred them brother and sister 6 times. And the last set of chickens that I raised out of them were 5-pound roosters, good bred. A friend of mine still maintains them, but I see that work very little. It's you can do it occasionally, but it's and just like I said with the one line of George Neal's, even the line breeding on them didn't work. You know, so for the brother and sister to work, man, they've got to have no bad. You know, if there's anything bad, it'll come to the top. You know, and so it's not the worst practice in the world, but it and you gotta have enough honesty with yourself when it don't work to say, hey, this, you know, that I think that's what hurts people, because they get good chickens and then when they start breeding downhill they won't be honest, you know, and they don't all last, you know. Sometimes you have to discard them, you know, early. Some of them last for a long time, you know. It's just
es importantísima la autocrítica y la selección, pero la autocrítica es, yo creo, la más importante de las críticas. Si nosotros no somos capaces de reconocer cuando estamos haciendo las cosas mal, nunca nos vamos a superar. Bueno, quiero que sepas que estoy gratamente sorprendido de tu granja, de los animales que vi y de tu persona. Comentaba en los videos que hacía que quiero volver cada año y le decía a la gente, de verdad, confíen en las sangres de este amigo porque está muy bien trabajado. Quiero felicitarte, quiero agradecerte, quiero decirte que quiero volver a venir cada año contigo.
He's saying that he's really surprised about your birds that are great. I mean, the body and everything, and how you breed them and everything. I mean, he's really surprised, and he has a really good impression about that. He already told in the videos that we have made the whole day that, and he wants to come each year. So yes, thank you. And next year for sure you will have us here. And well, people now about with this, they will know that you have great birds and that they can trust your blood because you are doing the things really good.
They've been really good. I think that there's a lot of good breeders. I mean, there's a lot of good breeders, but it's the attention to detail. You know, I mean, that's it. You got to be passionate. You know, normal people don't go out there in the middle of the night when it's sleeping and put their roosters under, but we love them. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, that's what I've done my whole life. You know, ever since I was a kid, and they've been really good to me. I've got to meet people all over the world and go places I never thought I'd go, and we love to go to Mexico. I mean, it's such a big venue. The people, the food, man, it's wonderful.
Now the last question of today, because in another years I will make again interview, but the last question of today, you can answer if you want or not. What's for you your favorite breeder in the history?
It has changed a little bit into more of the Mr. Kelso, and I love the Lacey Roundheads, but I was raised with Sanford Hatch. You know, the old Hatch families when I was a kid, you know, was some of the gamest, you know, and as the story goes, he wasn't real concerned about winning. He was a millionaire when that was a lot of money, but he was concerned about having the gamest, healthiest, and you know, that's you know, to win a fight you're not supposed to back when it was legal. That you know, that was the greatest feeling in the world. You know, to have a rooster to crawl over there and whip one when he wasn't supposed to. You know, and I still love it.
Pues amigos, ha sido un gusto estar aquí en la Gunner Game Farm.
That's one of my yellow-legged hatches. They're probably the best foundation fowl I've ever owned.
The favorite line.
The favorite.
Su línea favorita, los Yellow Leg. Y sí los tiene muy bonitos, pero a mí me encantaron todos. Ha sido un placer también para mí llevarles a ustedes esta granja que para mí es nueva, y si ya la conocían ustedes, pues para que oigan un poco de boca del propio creador algunos conceptos. Si no la conocían, vale la pena, de verdad. Estoy muy feliz de haber estado aquí con mi amigo John y John Button, Gunner Game Farm.
Yes, sir.
Un hombre de gallos, un hombre de muchos años en el gallo, un hombre apasionado por el gallo y un buen amigo, a good friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
John. Gracias, amigos. Amigos, este pollo asil giro, he estado levantando muchos pollos asiles y de otras líneas. Qué cuerpazos tienen, créanme, qué cuerpazos tienen. Es que me encantaron todos los que he agarrado, los asiles, los colorados asiles, los giros asiles y los kelso. Todos los que he levantado se sienten en las manos como piedras. Qué cuerpazos, ¿eh? Es parte de la buena alimentación, de la salud de los pollos. Preciosos, preciosos los asiles de aquí. Los kelso de aquí también me han gustado mucho. Estoy verdaderamente encantado de este lugar. Se los recomiendo, créanme, vale la pena.